You ever heard of the expression making it?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. We all want to make it, right? I want to make it. So, like, I was saying that all the time, or at least in my mind.
I want to make it.
When am I going to catch my break? When am I going to make it? I realize I don't want to make it. Mm-hmm. I want to make it.
Yeah.
Right?
The process.
Yeah. And that was the whole switch, and that was the Make.Art.Now.
This is Golden Hour. I'm your host, Dave Mays, and welcome to the Polar Pro Studio. Today's guest is Josh YEO from the YouTube channel Make.Art.Now. On the Golden Hour podcast, we talk to different creators, filmmakers, photographers. We ask them about their process of creativity, and we're here to learn about what it takes to become a full-time creative or full-time artist. Josh is an actor turned filmmaker who really cut his teeth in the industry doing high-end production stuff for TV and film. He's now transitioned into doing YouTube. No matter the circumstance, Josh is able to push the envelope of what is capable with his own creative energy and his own creative vision, and he keeps doing it over and over with every video that he produces on his YouTube channel. He also does this in his other work that you don't see on YouTube, pushing the boundaries of what people come to expect when it comes to real estate, videography, and filmmaking. And beyond Josh's career, I must say that this was an extremely entertaining interview to do, to say the least. Josh, just by himself, is extremely fun to talk to and was just cracking jokes the whole time, but we also talked about serious stuff when it comes to filmmaking and YouTube stuff. So without any further ado, let's listen in on my interview with my good friend, Josh YEO. So we're here with Josh YEO from Make.Art.Now. Finally got you on the podcast.
Thank you.
It's like pulling teeth to get you on here, but thanks for being here.
Yeah, I don't do podcasts, by the way, so this is just for you.
Yeah, you mentioned this is the first interview you've ever done.
Yep.
First podcast.
Yeah.
So it's an honor.
Thank you.
We also brought something here in honor of Josh YEO.
Oh, there it is.
If you're not watching the video, there's a sign on the table now that says Make.Art.Now. You might recognize it from the videos. Very similar. We found the perfect
You spelled it right and everything.
Same. No, Josh brought this.
I actually brought that.
Yeah. So we got a Make.Art.Now poster banner thing.
Just in case you're watching this and you forget, who this is.
So
you
this
got visual reference.
It's definitely the first guest that ever brought a prop for the...
I think it should be a thing. I think maybe you guys should
just tell them to bring a prop.
Yeah, just bring something that like sums it up.
So let's talk about how we actually know each other. The first time we met was at the Sony A6400 event. We went to Catalina. We hit it off at the Sony event, and it wasn't until I actually saw your video that you made from that I was like, oh, this guy's incredible. I never saw any of your work before, and then I kind of binged everything after that moment. And I love your style. I love your editing. I love your creativity. And if you haven't seen any of Josh's videos, definitely check him out on YouTube, Make.Art.Now. But we'll get to all that YouTube stuff. I want to kind of get started with our conversation about Burning Man, which you're a huge fan of. And you're actually going to be going in next week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, so I leave next week for that.
So you've been to Burning Man for a couple years in a row, right? Are you? Yeah,
this will be my 8th burn.
What makes Burning Man like a thing that you always want to go to and keep going back to? What's so cool about it for you?
When I first went there, it was just so much sensory overload that, you have all these people that haven't been, they just don't understand. They think it's a party out in the desert, which it is a party in the desert, 100%, not gonna lie. But there's so many other layers to it than that. It's so complex, and I feel like every year I go, I learn something new. Learn a little bit more about humanity, learn a little bit more about myself. It's a way for me to kind of check back in and figure out it's a really good time for me to connect with my wife. Yeah. So it's like our little vacation where we can go.
It's awesome.
And, just kind of not have any, even though it's overwhelming distractions, it's like you don't have your phone with you. You know? So you're just kind of, it forces you to be in the moment, present.
Yeah, and that's kind of what humanity is all about, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we've lost it.
Yeah.
Are you making any art installations for this year's event?
No.
A time machine.
I literally just unearthed the time machine out of storage 4 days ago, and while I was hit with a wave of nostalgia and I was like, man, I can't, I built this thing, it's so amazing. I was like, wow, I don't think I'll ever want to build one of these ever again, because it was so much work.
Well, tell me about that. What was that? I don't
well,
even know
first of all, I mean, the project was doomed from the get-go. I had initially brought on, the first person I brought on was a project manager, which was to help me raise some funds, and then the second person was an architect. And the architect was like, yep, we got to do steel frame. It's got to be, big, heavy metal thing. We got to make sure we have load test stress, so it's like this thing doesn't blow over in the wind. So we ended up welding together like an 800-pound steel frame for this time machine, which is essentially an elevator cab. So it was built from scratch, but it was supposed to look like an old elevator cab that had been transformed with some future tech and had traveled through space, kind of like a comet.
It's amazing.
And anyway, so this gigantic frame was like such a pain in the butt to like figure this out, weld it together, and then move it. And by the time we had end up finishing it, it was pretty much immovable. So we had to take the whole thing apart and move it in a big U-Haul instead of transporting it like intact. And it took us 3 days just to rebuild it back on the playa at Burning Man. And it was like 110 degrees out there. It was like the hottest year ever. And it took us 3 days to do it. And finally, when we were done, it was like we hadn't slept. It was just completely exhausting.
Golly, dude.
Yeah.
That's a good video, though.
But yeah, so I did that whole video on there. And that I think the only reason why I did the video was because the time machine took so much work to do.
You gotta show the process.
I was like, I have to reward myself and my teammates with some document of this.
Yeah.
But the truth is that a lot of the art that goes to Burning Man, you can just burn it down.
Oh, really?
And I remember like coming up with the idea. I was like, no way, I don't want to burn it. Like, I want to move this to other festivals. I want this thing to be like, to be worth it. I want to have this. And then as soon as the week was done at Burning Man, I was like, I wish you could just burn it down. Like, just
too much.
Just burn it down. But you can't, because there was like steel and there's like, plexiglass in there,
So where do you come from? Are you from California?
So I'm from actually Southern California, but I lived in Northern California a little bit, and then I moved back down to Southern California.
In your life, did you kind of bounce around, move around a lot?
I did. My mom was remarried a couple of times, so I think I went to like 6 or 7 different elementary schools.
Wow.
And so like I always kind of felt like an outsider, and moved up and down the coast of California, and then I moved out to Arizona, and then
when did you actually kind of make roots and stuff, like in LA?
So I moved out to Arizona for college, and then after that I came back to Los Angeles.
Did you finish college?
And that was I did. I have I'm a very proud owner of an associate's degree.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't even have that.
Yeah.
I dropped out with only half a semester left, and
I was like the funny thing is like all through high school, like all through elementary school, junior high, high school, I was like a D student.
Yeah.
Terrible. Like you could not like my parents were lucky that I didn't kill myself and that I like actually graduated. But then as soon as I went to college, like, and I had to pay for my own college, it was like A plus all the way.
When you actually had some value to it and motivation.
Well, you know what I figured out is that we don't actually know what motivates us.
Really?
A lot of people don't know what their motivation is. And I think one of the keys to success is like when you actually figure out, when you ask that hard question of like what actually motivates you.
Yeah. You were talking about that with me earlier about how having a family does motivate me.
Right. So that's the one for you then.
Yeah.
Being a good father.
Yeah.
Being able to provide.
Exactly.
Having a future, stable future. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that right now.
You have a wife? You got married?
I got a wife
this
but
year.
She's got a great job. She's nailing it.
Yeah.
She's a nurse. She's fine.
So you moved to from Arizona to LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
And were you interested in film?
Yeah, so I took a couple of screenwriting courses when I was in Arizona, and then I took an acting class in Arizona, and
you wanted to be an actor, right?
Not really.
Okay.
I actually wanted to be a writer. I wanted to just kind of create stuff. And so I really liked the screenwriting course. And then I was like, well, I'll take the acting class because it'll kind of flesh out the writing process, storytelling, that kind of thing. And then I liked it. I liked the performance aspect. And then so I moved out to LA following an ex-girlfriend of mine. She was going to like FITM, Fashion Institute or something. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I'll move back out to LA. And then I found this acting coach that was just really good, and she had an acting class, and it was like method acting, and she just really made me feel like an artist. Nice. And so I spent 8 years studying that.
Wow.
And going to class, like doing the whole bougie LA actor thing, like doing all the things, going to auditions, and I hated the whole acting experience in terms of like auditioning and like trying to book work and that kind of thing. Yeah. But I loved the process. And so I always loved class, and my teacher would be like, why don't you go book, like audition for this thing, go book this thing. And I was always in it for the class,
That's awesome.
Yeah, the process was always amazing.
So when was that moment for you when you kind of had this aha with YouTube and starting your YouTube channel? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I was cutting a reel just for like drone jobs, and I had bought my first camera only like 5 years ago. And so I was working at a restaurant before that, doing the whole acting thing.
So you were literally the stereotypical.
I was 100
work at a restaurant, struggling actor.
Yeah, exactly. And literally just waiting for opportunities to come.
Yeah, you weren't even going to auditions, huh?
I was going to auditions, but I hated it. I cringed at the whole process because, I mean, the whole audition thing is such a racket. I mean, they end up hiring people that are in their roster anyway, but they have to, because of like because of SAG regulations, they have to see so many new faces and fresh actors, and they have relationships with other casting directors that like it after like 8 years of just pounding pavement trying to get these things, it kind of took the life out of me. Yeah. Knowing that the actor that they wanted to hire that was probably good enough for it, but maybe not was what the writers had in mind. Yeah. Was just friends with the casting director or was friends with the producer or something like that. And that's how how it goes.
Sorry, before we get to YouTube, I do want to figure out that switch from actor to filmmaker for you. You said you bought your first camera 5 years ago?
Yeah, so I was working at a restaurant and doing that whole thing, and then I got involved with a nonprofit organization called Seeds of Hope, and they had a shelter and they had a clubhouse for girls down in Costa Rica that were victims of sex trade. Wow. And so my friend was involved with them because he was part of their church group.
Is this it?
Yeah, that's them.
Seedsofhope.com?
Yep. And so I went down there on a whim just to like help move sandbags and just be of service, right? Wow. And I found out what they were doing, and I had a little flip. Remember those flip cams? Oh,
yes. Those were great. Those were so popular.
That was actually like my first camera, and I would bring those to like Coachella and that's how I learned editing, but I don't consider it my first like professional camera.
Sure. Because everything was in focus.
It's just like
720p.
But like that's what I was editing on. Yeah. And so like my editing background probably goes back 10 years now. And then so I brought that thing down with me to Costa Rica, and I was like, listen, you guys are doing something incredible here. You need some documentation of it. This is how I can best serve you guys, and I'll just shoot this little video and cut together something. Maybe it can raise you guys some money. So I shot this thing on a flip cam, and I edited together like this 2-minute little piece that just kind of spelled out what they were doing and how, and I gave the audience a sense of hope after, like, yes, this is terrible, but like there's change happening. Like you can be a part of this. And that thing went on, that one little tiny video went on to raise them like $50,000 at their church organization throughout the years. And then they were really impressed with it, and they asked me to come back and do it again. And so I was like, yes, I 100% let me do it right. And so I bought a real camera and I bought some lights.
What was that camera? Do you remember?
5D Mark II.
Yes. Yeah. That's the way to go, man.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I had no idea how to use. Like when I look back at the second video I did with 5D Mark II, and I actually used a tripod, and I had no idea what I was doing. Out of my mind.
Which one was better, the flip cam one or the 5D?
I think the flip cam one was better, actually. Yeah, it just goes to show you don't need like all the fancy stuff, because at that point I was simply shooting and editing off of intuition, versus when I like invested in the equipment, it somehow tainted that process. I was like, oh, I have to use this because I own it now. It might not have been the best thing at the time.
Wow.
You know, like you start justifying shots that you need because you spent so much time or money on them.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, if it takes away from the story, cut it out.
So when I first started out, I got a 7D with a 24mm prime, the f1.4 L series.
Okay.
And it was, that's an expensive lens, but that was the only lens I had.
Yeah.
And some of my best work was shot on that one camera with that one lens. It's basically a 35mm equivalent. And like I kind of missed the simplicity of the one lens, the one camera. And I think I had like a 50, but I would rarely use it. So that one lens, that one camera, I made a documentary that got a Vimeo staff pick, and it was just that one.
You got a staff pick?
Yeah. I used to be a filmmaker before I was a YouTuber.
Dude, that's impressive. I've never met anyone that has a staff pick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're the first.
Just go to Nashville. There's a whole bunch.
Really? Yeah, I always wanted to get a staff pick. Like my ego wanted one, and I was always bummed out when I didn't get one. But I only uploaded like a couple of videos for it, and
Vimeo was like the shiz back in the day, man.
Yeah, are they?
And also the word shiz used to be
the shiz.
The shiz back in the day. They're still around.
What was the video?
It was a little mini doc about my uncle, my great uncle, and Philip Bloom tweeted it out, and that's how I got a staff pick. This was back in 7 years ago. Yeah,
Philip Bloom.
You met that guy?
Dude, that guy's my man crush.
Yeah.
He's the man. He's like, I think Phil, it's funny because I think he's got like, he's got what, I don't even know how many subscribers he has, like 180 on YouTube.
Not enough.
Not enough, right?
Yeah.
But like he's legendary in terms of like, the people in our field who they actually respect, and they're like, oh, dude, Phil Bloom is like, he's legend.
He kind of, even before the 5D like revolution, he was already doing reviews and like tutorials and stuff. Yeah. But when the DSLR kind of revolution happened, he was at the forefront of that, and kind of, he was like our Peter McKinnon, I guess.
Yep.
So tell me about when that switch happened. You bought, let's finish that up with Seeds of Hope. You did the video. And then from there, did you start just freelance like video stuff at that point with your 5D Mark II?
Yeah, I mean, so I was working at a restaurant, and I had a really terrible manager, and he just made me feel like just number one, I was like the king of this restaurant before. Like I was like the best salesman. I was like slanging all these dishes, and I was inventing my own dishes. It's very bad, but like we worked at like it was like a tourist attraction in Beverly Hills on Rodeo. And so like this Beverly Hills, so I'm like, you know what? Let's just like, can I just invent a dish? I'm like, how about we'll call it the $100 filet. And it was like our $40 filet with like a big lobster tail on top. And I'm like, and I asked the chef, I'm like, can you make me a button? This is $100 filet. Anyway, so like, sorry for that tangent, but that's where I was. So like, that's where I was. And then this manager comes in and starts dropping these lines like, all right, so you ready for your 6-month review or something? And I was like, what? I'm like, I'm out of here. So like, I ended up. I actually thank him for being such a prick, because he fueled me to finally take the reins of my life. And instead of waiting for opportunities to happen, I was like, I'm going to go make some opportunities happen.
I can relate so strongly to that. I was at a place where I was making videos, but there's constant just corporate structure attached to it. And they would say, do this, do that. And I'd say, no, that's not going to work. This is what we should do. And they're like, no, don't do that. I would go do it anyways, come back. They would love the result, but the process of the way that I did it, I went against authority. And my boss had to sit me down. He's like, Dave, I don't know what to say, but you make stuff that's good, but the way you do it, you just don't follow the rules. And so you either need to quit or you're going to be micromanaged.
See,
and so I quit. And it was like,
I love that about you. I think that's what makes good art. I think like reevaluating the work in progress constantly and refining. Like that's otherwise you're going to do the same stuff.
Do you have a rebellious like bone in your body? Is
100%.
Is any type of authority you just kind of go against it, or
not even if it's not authority, even if it's like a friend just be like, "Hey, I think you're like
yeah."
It's terrible. It's bad.
It's good that you're self-aware of it. It's something that I've been aware of as well recently, and I've been trying to, because there is a negative aspect to that, especially with my relationship with my wife.
Well, how's your relationship with your dad?
My relationship with my dad is amazing.
And he was there for you growing all the way
up?
He's
a musician. He's a producer.
So I feel like mine comes from my relationship with my dad. My dad is a great dad, awesome, but my mom made it a little difficult for him to be around us all the time because we constantly were moving.
Yeah.
And so he physically wasn't there in my life.
Yeah.
So I was the youngest, and my mom had 4 other kids. So like by the time I came around, like my mom was checked out, like done, like don't try to pull any shit with me because I know what you're gonna do. But it was like, your brothers will take care of you.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's where I get the rebelliousness from, which is like I'm just gonna do it anyway.
But yeah, I can relate to that. But also, I think there's value in putting your ego like on the doorstep and walking into a place where you're working around other people and everybody's collaborating together and like working together, and you're not always the boss all the time. I think it's valuable to have that, but also because of the way
I want that so bad.
Yeah.
I would love, I love it when you have someone that you respect or work with. And
that's what I love about this job is we're working together to make this podcast. It's not just me doing this.
I mean, it's mostly you and that guy and that guy over there. So like having, what I always loved is like having either an employee or someone that you respected where whether they were going to use your opinion or not, they asked you what you thought of this, like weighing in. I feel like that's so important, and it's
even if they're at a higher level, they're asking
100%. They're doing it because it's like the next generation allowing a pathway, right, for you to enroll yourself. That's so important.
I've heard of a lot of filmmakers, even like really big ones, that
Howard,
that are open to a PA giving you a suggestion or something.
Right. I think Ron Howard on his masterclass. I've watched like all those masterclasses.
Are they good?
They're all good.
Oh heck yeah!
It's like $190. You can get unlimited.
Okay.
And
I'll give it a try.
I think Ron Howard is the one that I saw where he's like, it doesn't matter if they're PA or transport guy. If someone has a suggestion, they're seeing something. They're responding to something, and whether it's good or not, it's good for directors to at least listen to it because it could be something. It could change. It could change your thought process.
But anyways, where were we? So you quit your job at the restaurant.
I quit job at the restaurant and I went down to Seeds of Hope. I did their second video. That one took me like 3 weeks to shoot, and then it took me 4 months to edit that thing. I killed myself editing it, and I was so proud when it was done. And I gave it to them, and it was like they had a bunch of revisions.
Authority.
I'm like, Joe, you don't see the vision though. The vision, this thing's beautiful. You're just not getting it. And then it was like the first wave of like reality of like, it's not like if you're doing a video like of that nature, you have to like stay in tune with the product or the company that you're doing it for, and not get sucked into your own vision 100%. And so it was a good learning lesson. And then after that kind of emboldened me to just start pursuing paid work. And so I started out as a drone pilot.
Really?
Like this was like right when DJI had released the Phantom 2.
With the GoPro and the Zenmuse.
Yeah, exactly. So I got all that. I soldered my own little thing together so I could have the first-person view.
Yep. And
then I listed a bunch of Craigslist ads and put together a little drone reel. And I was like undercutting everyone. I was charging half-day rates. It's like, just trying to do something. And I remember those first 6 months was so scary because I was like so broke.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like 29 at this point.
This is
this was not that long ago. This is like 3 years ago.
It's also pre-FAA regulation stuff too, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think I got that first drone well, I guess it was 2014 or 2015 when this was happening. Yeah. But
5 years ago.
5 years ago now. Man, I got to change my story. It was like last year.
Time moves on.
Yeah. Not for me. I have a time machine. Okay.
That's true. So anyways,
I didn't catch my first big break, at least in terms of I was always struggling with work and finances. I didn't catch my first big break until I started filming real estate, filming these houses, and I started out in Bakersfield. And the homes in Bakersfield are big, they look beautiful, but they're like the most expensive properties, like $500,000, right? So but they look massive. It looks a lot more expensive than it is. And so I was going out there. I met up with a broker named Bobby Moreno. Great guy. Bobby.
Great name.
Yeah, Bobby Moreno. And he saw some of my work and really invested in me, and worked out a deal where I was like, listen, it's a 2.5-hour drive. How about I do 3 videos for you over the course of 2 days? I'll bill you for the hotel. And then that way, because I think I was only charging him like $200 or $300 a video to shoot and edit. I mean, it just shows how desperate I was to get work, especially in LA. Like, it's very much undercutting the business for working professionals. And I did one video after that was the most expensive video I did. It was a $5 million property. I spent a week doing it. It was for my friend who works for the agency in Marina Del Rey. And I really put a lot of elbow grease into that video, and I didn't hear anything back for like 3 months. And then one day, out of the blue, I get a call from a producer from New York City saying, we found your video. We love what you did with this thing. Can we license the footage? And I was like, absolutely. They're like, great. We have $1,000 day rate to license footage. I was like, oh my God, that's more than I was paid for the video. I was like, done. And then he was like, also, and then he calls me back a day later. I think he had found me on Facebook or something, and messaged me on Facebook. He's like, actually, do you want to shoot for this interview, this show that we're doing? It's called Secret Lives of the Super Rich. And we need to do pickup shots of this house, and we also have to do a little quick soundbite interview for the broker. We'll pay you a full day rate. And at this point in time, like, a day rate for me was like $250. And I was like, what's the day rate? And he's like, $1,000 a day. I'm like, are you like, that's like a week's worth of work for me. And I was like, absolutely, I'll do it. And so, man, I got so lucky on that one. Just that one video. And that I'll never forget that first day of shooting with them. I realized that very quickly, like, I was working with other professional cameramen, guys that have been doing it for 20 years, and they have the whole camera van and all the, they have flags and they have lights, and they got like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. And very quickly I was like, wow, I am way out of my league here. And so I made an effort not to be the best or be the most talented, but just to be the most enjoyable to be around for those producers. Because I knew that if I made sure that we had a good time, because I was like, we're in my neighborhood, I know exactly where to go and do everything. If I can make sure that we have a good enough time, I'll be hired back. And that was 100% true.
Wow. What were some of the things that you did that you remember from that day that were
so we shot the house in Beverly Hills, and then I think I just like picked a couple of good restaurants for us. Like, we had they were there for 2 days shooting, so like I lined them up with like lunch and dinner restaurants to go to. And I think
you just were yourself. You were just having fun.
Yeah, but I mean, even on set, in between shoots, like, stuff always inevitably goes wrong. Every shoot I've ever been on, something goes wrong. And so, like, when that happens, you can either joke about it and like get it done and just kind of break the ice, because it could be, if there's a client there or if there's like the interviewee there, sometimes they have a sense of humor, sometimes they don't, but to get that out of them, to make the experience the most enjoyable, that's
amazing.
That's gold.
So
that's what you got to do.
From that moment on,
I was
continue to work with them.
So that house that I shot for them was a $5 million property. I got a call 2 months later to go shoot Cher's house.
Oh wow,
$85 million property. So it was like I went from Bakersfield shooting like $400,000-$500,000 homes to $5 million, then jumped to $85 million, and then the next house I shot after that was the most expensive house currently in the world, which is $500 million home. I think they just finished building it. So we had shot part of it being built, and it was like a massive compound on the top of Beverly Hills. So it was like it was like meteoric, like growth out of nowhere, all because I poured all this energy into one little video. Someone saw it, and then I made the effort to just be super friendly and enjoyable to be around, and it totally paid off.
That's incredible.
And that I don't know that I would have a YouTube channel if it wasn't for that kind of interaction.
Yeah. So is that still something you're currently doing for work?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They'll hit me up. Like now the show itself is kind of rebranding itself, and I shoot for CNBC a ton for other shows as well. But this one in particular is like always the funnest one, because
it's your gig.
I mean, dude, we've shot at like Bella and Gigi Hadid's $200 million house in Bel Air. We've shot expensive super yachts and the most expensive like watches, $50 million worth of like jewelry.
So are you just like, do they hire you to shoot? So come in on your one wheel and your gimbal, basically? You're the one wheel guy?
So I do ride the one wheel for them occasionally, but the Segway is far superior.
Oh, the Segway, yeah.
Yeah, you're riding indoors. Like I rode my Segway through like Bella and Gigi Hadid's home, right? Weaving through like artifacts and like paintings and like vases that are like 10 feet tall. I don't think that I could do that with as much precision with the one wheel as you can with the Segway, with two wheels solidly on the ground and the camera positioned straight on. But it was funny. I remember asking the producers, I was like, I think I'm going to try to get an insurance policy for me to ride a Segway inside. And they looked at me so crazy. They're like, what? I'm like, you got to look at this footage though. You got to, see, like, look at this. It looks like I'm floating through a house. Yeah. And after that, like the person who books me for CNBC every time was like, you're going to bring a Segway, right? They had like taken off. And now I think there's a couple of guys under that shoot for that show that they all ride Segways, and they all like,
so you changed
format.
Totally.
Dude,
it's that's fun.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also like with a Segway or a one wheel, you can cover so much more ground. I can shoot a whole downtown Los Angeles in like half an hour with one of those things,
and not be out of breath.
Instead of what would take you like 4 hours, and then you have to take a cab, and then you have to go across over here to get this shot. I'm like, no, I just shoot everything on my way over there, and by the time I get there, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, so that right there was like a huge game changer for me as well. Just making an aesthetic that wasn't really around before. So
I'm trying to understand though. You're just a freelancer for the show, basically?
Yeah, so they have staffers, people who work for CNBC, and then certain special programming they will hire hired guns, freelancers.
Steadicam ops, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Drone ops.
And because I'm on the West Coast and they're based out in New York, anytime they have a property that's west of Texas, I get a call, and so I go to Colorado a lot. I go to Montana.
And you're there with a crew. It's not just you.
It's normally me, one other camera guy, an audio guy, and a producer and a follow-up producer. So in terms of like...
It's pretty stripped down.
It's really stripped down. Like most television shows, if you talk skeleton crew, it's still 25 people. Yeah. This is 5 people at most. And so it's a buttload of work, and you have to be really good, and you have to like be willing to be on your feet for 12 hours, 14-hour days sometimes.
What do you shoot on for those?
Usually. So the funny thing is that I was originally shooting on Sony A7S Mark I, and this was like 3.5 years ago, and the other guys were shooting on C300 Mark II, which had just came out or something. So you're talking about like a $10,000 $15,000 camera versus my used A7S one. And so I was shooting it with an external recorder, shooting 4K. And then, you know, at that time, television wasn't 4K. It was all HD. And it still, for the most part, is HD. And I would have to like run this through my computer to crunch out these 4Ks into a deliverable 1080
ProRes,
so that I could... not even that, because they're editing on Avid, so I'd have to crunch it down to DNX.
Yeah.
so like I'm doing all this extra work behind the scenes just so I could get my image to look the best, so I could keep up with the C300 Mark II. The funny thing is that my stuff was looking better.
Oh wow.
And while the C300 Mark II is an incredible camera, and it's like the color fidelity and skin tones are amazing, and in no way can compete with the A7S Mark I, especially with like the auto white balance issues that it was having. When you take full frame and you compare it to a Super 35 sensor and you're shooting real estate, suddenly you now have these wide angle lenses. You can make houses and properties look a lot bigger and a lot more spacious. And these producers were like, your stuff looks way more, it looks bigger, it looks more roomy, it looks more sharp. You know, I was like crunching down 4K files, whereas the other guys were just shooting 1080 internal.
Oh, wow.
You know,
so not using as wide of a lens.
I got away with that for like 2.5 years, and then there was a couple of interviews where I kind of messed up on, and they're like, all right, yeah, no more Sony, you got to get the C300. I was like, all right. But by that time I could afford it.
Yeah, so you have a C300 Mark II.
But now I have a C300 Mark II, which I only use for that show. And it just collects. It's
just a cost of the job.
It pains me looking at it because it's on top of a Movi, so you're like, it's like literally like $16,000 just sitting there on my desk, and I'm like, I'm only using this once a month, like, not into it otherwise.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so that all happens.
And
then you start your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I basically wanted to showcase some of my work, and I wanted to build a relationship with an audience, and I knew that where I want to go is going to require the audience behind me, because I think any filmmaker these days has to be aware that a subscriber base, you know, finding that as soon as you can is going to instrumentally help your career. And,
absolutely.
You know, so that was, and it kind of happened right around the same time. All these new opportunities were hitting me and inspiring me, and they were also challenging me, and so I was trying to funnel them into the YouTube channel. The hardest thing is that because of my agreements with CNBC, I couldn't actually use any of those stories in the channel. So I had to come up with my own way of trying to include some of those experiences, or at least what I've learned, into the channel. But I couldn't use any of the footage.
Man.
You know.
Yeah.
But like, that was it.
Okay, so when did you was there another creator that inspired you to start your YouTube channel? You just kind of had the awareness of YouTube?
Yeah, I think Casey Neistat actually probably had a big influence, at least on, I remember watching his stuff, and I remember thinking of how shaky the camera movements were.
Yeah. And
like, it just wasn't that good. Yeah. But like, and I couldn't figure out why I kept watching it. I was like, why am I watching this? And, you know, if you're an outsider, you've never really seen much vlogging YouTube or any of these lifestyle YouTubers, you probably don't get just how much work and how much expertise, like how much mastery is behind that until you jump into it. To be able to hold someone's attention, someone you've never met, they might be a new person watching your stuff, be able to hold their attention, give them some information, take them on this journey, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice to get that good, and he's an absolute master at it, and he's figured it out. And so I think watching that kind of inspired me in a novice way, though, of like, oh, I can do that. I can do it better, right?
Yeah. Felt the same way.
So silly, but that's you know, that's the illusion.
Yeah.
You know,
makes it look easy.
Yeah, exactly.
So you started your channel, and
then after that, pretty much as soon as I started the channel, I tried to watch as little YouTube as possible. That's after
good.
That.
I've stopped watching a lot of it too because it's just too much.
Well, you start comparing yourself, you know, and you start trying to place inflated values over your own work versus other people's work, and it starts alienating you from like these relationships that you've made with these people. Yeah, you know, it's just not. You know, there's a difference between watching someone who's your friend and their work and supporting them and watching, and then like, you know, watching YouTube and then being like either trying to get inspiration from them or copy them or, you know, even in the back of our minds, we're always, there's no original thought. It's all, it's all stolen and regurgitated and repurposed, and
it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of creators out there, and you're one of them that I watch that I'm like, man, these guys, like, you put so much time and effort. Like Dan Mace, too, the way that he edits and creates.
Who's Dan Mace?
Dan Mace is the guy from South Africa. He works with Casey sometimes.
Right, I like him.
His style, I feel like you and him actually are, like...
Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce.
Yeah, Brew.
I love that guy. I don't watch his stuff, but I have seen his intros.
You should have seen, I mean, he does
a lot of work. He's super original, super talented. He's just, he's figured it out, for sure.
But, like, that's exhausting for me to watch.
Is he at, like, over 1 million now?
I don't know, but...
He's got to be close.
He's probably close, but he does one video a week right now. He's doing it, and it's nuts. He's traveling all over the world doing one story in a certain region in the world. And, I think he has a team that's helping him, but it's still mostly him, and it's exhausting to watch. And even your videos, it's like there's a lot of work and effort put into it, which goes against what I've been told from YouTube experts. Quantity over quality.
I actually don't know that I recommend the stuff that I do, but I'm on my own kind of path.
Yeah. Why is that? Why do you not? You just don't care about YouTube as a YouTuber?
I think, if I try to hold true to like my values of like, do it for the art, do it, be punk rock, go against the grain, do stuff that ordinary people would pass by and think that there's nothing there. You're not going to get any views. Do it anyway. Those things don't work for the algorithm. And I get like, that's probably my number one comment, which is like, man, you're getting robbed on the algorithm or something. Right. But like, going back to Burning Man, one of the best things about Burning Man is when you get there, you've never been there before, you find a body of work, a piece of art that someone erected, and you just look at it in awe. It's like 30 feet tall. It's like this huge lighthouse that's built up of all this scrap wood, and it's intricate. You can climb it. You can go up there. Your mind starts bending because you're like a group of team dedicated months, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this body of work. Mm-hmm. All for the purpose of blowing your mind. Mm-hmm. And they're going to burn it down, and there's going to be no evidence of it afterwards.
Wow.
Right? So like that kind of thought process. And I was like, is there a way that I can kind of take from that what Burning Man has given me and give that on YouTube and do like these videos where you might think you know what it is, but once you watch it, it quickly takes you into a different direction, and then you're like, whoa, and then it does this, whoa. Like, so that's all kind of what I've been trying to do in the back of my mind, at least, working for these things. Sometimes I take tangents, and I'll do, of course, we all do videos for the views and stuff like that.
Sure.
It always backfires.
It does.
Phenomenally. I'm like, this one's going to do so good.
This is going to go viral.
And then it's like, oh,
I'm going to push the viral button.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. I'm gonna make sure to push that viral button when you hit export.
Yeah. And then also the opposite is true. When I'm like, this video is such crap, I'm not gonna upload this, and then I upload it. It's like one of my best ones ever. I'm like, and then the next 3 videos are me just trying to get back to that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god.
Well, that's the problem.
I can't figure it out.
The social aspect of it is like you have comments, you have likes, you have views, you have subscribers, and as an artist, I feel like all those things go against art in general. Like, you're supposed to really just do
also, what's weird is like, like having the interaction from the audience is so important.
Yeah, it's cool to talk to them.
It's so important. Like, you have a lot of mistakes that I make, or a lot of things that, people catch. I actually didn't see them. And so it informs me for the next video.
Yeah, like
but on the other hand, so these comments are extremely like instrumental in helping the progression of art get better, right? But on the other hand, you catch someone on a bad day, you don't know what their experience is. They may have just been fired. They could be like super bitter because they're working at some restaurant and their manager is
just like you,
is jerking them around.
Yeah.
And they catch this video and I just look like one of those douchey dudes on YouTube. And they just totally unload, right? Yeah. It happens to everybody. No one's impervious.
You told me somebody said something about your audio yesterday.
Right? So like that is totally counterproductive to all of the whole art process, because you're now taking some influence that has nothing to do with the art or whatever. It's someone just projecting, their vomit onto you. And that's... So I do kind of struggle with that a little bit.
Sure.
Just where to weigh that in.
So basically with YouTube for you, it's all about just making stuff that you're passionate about, that you want to go against the grain, and you're not on any type of like schedule. Of course, you're trying to do a couple a month if possible, but
yeah, I mean, I think eventually I'll probably scale it up and
get somebody to edit for you would be great.
Build a team, of like other people that feel as passionately about this process as I do. That would be super rad.
Yeah.
But I think for the moment, I'm getting each video I upload, I'm actually getting something out of it. It's either something new, I'm working towards a skill set that I don't have, and so at the end of 10 years, I'll have this set of skills that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And that's the goal.
What are you driven by? Money, success, fame, going against the grain?
Yeah, I think going against the grain, blowing people's minds.
Yeah.
It's the
Burning Man concept.
I think so. Yeah, just like, I think I want people's respect. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that respect is the same as numbers or money.
Yeah.
Like the artists that I always respected are like people like Philip Bloom, who like they put in the work, they do it, they
do it right.
They're thorough. They care about what they're saying. They're not trying to just shove things down your throat or products down your throat.
Yeah.
Other artists, Idris Elba, like that guy. That guy's a beast.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Philip Bloom and Idris Elba.
I love that.
No, but like if you look at his work, he's not like The Rock right now. He's not like, so if you compare it to actors,
isn't he gonna potentially be?
He could be.
007?
He could be. That would be dope. That would be super rad. But like if you look at his volume of how many movies he puts out, or like let's take it even to in a more extreme case, Daniel Day-Lewis. Is that guy not the most revered actor of all time?
Yeah.
The guy does one film every 4 or 5 years. I mean, he's now retired, but like that was his thing. It took him 3 years to do a video.
Yeah.
To do a YouTube video.
A video.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if Daniel Day-Lewis does a YouTube channel?
Well, that's the thing, is like
I would watch.
Will Smith and Jack Black now are on YouTube, and we're probably going to see more celebrities do that.
I 100%. Well, they know the value of creating. I mean, so like actors have always, the trajectory of an actor was always build up the audience and then take a back seat as a producer. And then once you had that back seat as a producer, you could then build your own franchise, like Tom Cruise with Mission Impossible. That whole Mission Impossible thing, that's all him. Like that's how he has all his money, is from that very first one, right?
Yeah. Well, I heard that they didn't let him do his own stunts, so he's like, fine, I'll just be a producer, and now I can do them.
Oh, right. I'm not sure about that, but I know he does do his own stunts. But like the idea of like having to create your own material, right?
Yeah.
Even when you're an actor, like think about how hard that is. You're a top actor, and they're just throwing scripts at you, like left and right. You're turning stuff down. That's your job. You have someone turning down stuff for you.
Yeah.
But then to take it on your own and be like, I'm going to raise all this money and I'm going to build my own team because I have this vision and I have this thing that I want to create. That takes so much energy.
That may be why so many Oscar-winning films are directed and starred by the same person.
100%.
Or they're actor turned directors.
I mean, that's
like,
they
have this art inside of them.
Totally. So that's like the trajectory, right? And now you're seeing a lot of these celebrities who are these actors where they're now kind of taking what they were already doing, but now they're applying it in a new medium. Yeah. So like I guarantee you Will Smith will have another career resurgence from YouTube if he keeps going on, because I mean, even his Instagram is like crazy awesome now. He's doing stuff no one's doing.
Yeah.
You know, so just like
awesome.
Eventually, you know.
Yeah.
Although he has a huge advantage. I mean, he just had like Aladdin, like which is like his #1 film of all time. He's
got a great team of people making all this stuff.
He has all of the stuff behind him already, so he's at a huge advantage.
Sure.
But like, you know,
I think a lot of musicians don't understand the value of social media. Like I have some friends, it's like they want to just keep creating albums and just put them out and get signed by a record label.
Right.
It's like, no, like you really should build an audience,
I think,
and then trickle out your music and let that, you know.
Yeah, and I think procuring the relationship with the audience is super important too.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably something I don't do enough, but interacting with them, creating devices where you can be, you can make yourself available. You know.
Yeah.
The Ask Me Anything stuff, or like the meetups, like those are so valuable because you're creating this audience. They're watching your stuff.
Well, speaking of Ask Me Anything, we did an Ask Me Anything. It's your first one you've ever done, I think, right? I put on my Instagram, you put on your Instagram. What's the one thing that you still struggle with when it comes to content creation? It's from
writing.
Tyler Chef. Writing.
Do
you write your like YouTube videos?
Yeah.
So you script it.
Yeah. Part of the illusion for me is being really good on camera and having it all off the cuff. 100% performance. That's really, it's like, I don't want to waste anyone's time. So figuring out how can I give you guys the information? How can I give you an on-ramp so you understand it if you've never heard of this product before or this concept before? And then how can I get to like the fun and games section of the video as quickly so that it's enjoyable and that you're left with some sort of new skill set.
So do you use like a prompter? You just kind of read a piece of paper?
I just write it out on a Word doc and either print it or now I have it on an iPad.
And you just kind of maybe look at a paragraph.
I go line by line.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, they're like, I see some of these other people that rip other YouTubers about like the jump cuts. Like if you go to any editing forum, it's like, oh yeah, the jump cuts. It's like, well, dude, like that's not because it's because of efficiency. Like the jump cut is because I literally hit stop and start for that one sentence so that I could stitch them together and it's, edited
and
quickly.
It's sort of like, it's a totally acceptable part of the genre of YouTube now. Like I don't even think twice about it.
Well, I mean, eventually you just don't even see them anymore.
Yeah. It just kind of, it's weird. I mean, Philip DeFranco like has built an entire following. All right, so this is a question you might get a lot, or at least a comment. Why does he wear so many denim shirts, or should I put it? Or okay,
one denim.
Yes, you only have one.
No.
So how many denim shirts do you have?
I have like 11.
Yeah,
it has to do with just continuity. At least that's how it started. We have to shoot stuff. Sometimes it takes multiple days to shoot it.
Yeah.
And in a small way, if you are trying to squeeze that timeline into a short, it took place in one day.
Yeah.
The easiest solution is going to be to have the same shirt, right?
Exactly.
And so I quickly was going through, like, that shirt, I would have to wait for it to be washed or, like, to whatever. And then I was like, you know what? Every video from now on is going to be in the same shirt, and I'm going to buy 20 of them. And that's the end of it.
It's the exact same shirt.
And I'm sure I'll probably regret it. And, like, one day I'll be like, God, that was so stupid. Like, trying to be like the blue-collar Steve Jobs wearing denim on denim on denim. It's just, I'm sure.
It's a good look.
But for now, like, I think it kind of works. And,
yeah, I've thought about doing the same thing because I wear about a bunch of colored shirts just like
although
this.
I was hanging out with like Swoozy. Swoozy. Swoozy does like these animated videos. And I was there with we were doing a video for Jesse Wellens. And so I met Swoozy and I was like, how do you do the shirt thing? Because he was talking about my shirt and I'm like, well, how do you do it? He's like, oh, I got one shirt and then when I'm done recording I put it on a hanger and then that's it.
So he doesn't wash it.
So like, but I was like, wow, that could work too. You just don't like, so you don't wear it for the rest of the day. You take it off.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, genius.
Just take the shirt off.
Would have saved me so much money. I spent like $400 or $500 on these $50 shirts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I got like closet full of them.
So great.
And of course it's terrible because I don't know when I'm going to do an episode or not. I always have a camera with me. And so like I have to always just wear the shirt. I'm like, I could film something. I need the shirt I need the shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of caused a little bit of an issue for you.
To be honest with you, it's actually taken out a little bit of the thought process of my day of like what I'm going to wear. So that's super helpful.
Michael asks, has he ever tried to make a short film?
Yes.
Or have you made any?
Yeah, I made a short.
It's on Vimeo?
It was on Vimeo, and then I may have pulled it off Vimeo, and I put it on YouTube, and I gave it context of the behind the scenes, and that was the one. I shot that at Burning Man, actually.
Oh, cool.
It was my first short film. It's called Deep Playa Sunrise, and it was the first narrative piece to be shot, or one of the first narrative pieces to be greenlit by Burning Man. Like they read the script, they loved it, and they pretty much gave me a blank check to go do it. And that was really like my first body of work. Before that, I wasn't. It was like just after the Seeds of Hope thing, and so that one video was the moment that I decided I no longer wanted to be an actor, and that doing, directing and shooting was really what I wanted. I wanted to be behind the camera.
Even though you're on camera
Even though now I'm back in front of the camera.
Yeah, that's cool. Can people see it on your channel?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. It's the video is called My First Film Sucked and I Still Made It Work, or something like that. It has disaster shoot on there because it was just it was a nightmare.
Melvin Costco asks, Josh is reading all my DMs but never responds.
Melvin, I'm sorry. Melvin. Listen, I only read them. I'm not actually reading them. I'm just doing it so the notification goes away. Which I don't know if that's worse, but it's like the OCD part of my brain where I'm like, God, this thing's not gonna get this notification, go away. But the truth is, I have so many. There's just a wall of questions. I mean, I could easily spend 9 hours a day answering all these questions.
It's true. And then you don't get to work
because it's never just one question. It's like that plus 4 follow-up questions, and then you got to shut them down.
Make art tomorrow. And
exactly. Like, look, Melvin, it already takes me like 4 weeks to do one video. You want it to take like 11? Sorry, bro.
Screeve asks, are you planning to stay unmonetized on YouTube?
I do monetize.
You do?
The only ones that are unmonetized are when I'm stealing music, and I'm like, YouTube's going to get me in trouble. At first, the first year of the channel, I didn't monetize. And somebody told me that Casey did that too. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But out of mine was purely because I couldn't monetize. And then after I could, I was like, well, there's so much freedom when you don't monetize, in terms of like, you don't really care how much money you're making. You're doing it for the art. And I thought that was kind of punk rock. And then you can also kind of get away with sneaking little bits of other people's music in there, and you don't have to worry about getting penalized.
Yeah. And, but honestly, now everybody uses ad blockers, or they have YouTube Premium anyways. So like a lot of people don't see ads anyways, even if you have ads on. Oh, right. Well, I mean, I pay for YouTube Premium, so the fact that you turn it off doesn't affect me at all, because I don't see ads anyways.
I think most of it wasn't for the audience, but it was for
you.
It was for me. Yeah. It was like, do it for the art. I
love that. But now it's like.
But now it's do it for. But now
you're doing it.
Now do it for me. Make money now.
I love it. What's your David Kerberger asks, what are some of your biggest goals right now?
I'm gonna do a feature in the next 2 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm gonna take the audience along with me.
I love it. What's it gonna be?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay, we'll see.
But I got to figure it out, and it's never been done before. And it's gonna take a lot. I probably have to grow my channel to about, I'd say, 500,000 or maybe $1 million in order to get enough support to actually pull it off. But I think it'd be super rad to take the audience along with me from the beginning to the end, and actually,
and then delete the channel,
and then just delete channel. See you later. Thanks for your money. No, but like involve them in the process too.
Yeah.
So like, we forget how powerful hive mind is when you have all these data points, especially people that know your stuff, they know your channel, they know what you like. And if you were to orchestrate some system where you could get input that's good, you could probably get you could probably get.
Have you ever seen Yes Theory?
Yeah,
they incorporate the audience a lot in their channel. It's brilliant.
Right. So, I mean, there's incredible computational power in HiveMind. And so it'd be great to involve that in the creation process.
HiveMind just sounds like a villain from like a DC comic. With like
HiveMind. Look, I just came up with the production name.
He's got like the beehive like around his head kind of thing. His eyes just poke out.
Fight Spider-Man.
Bees just fly around him.
That's like a Spider-Man villain, let's be honest.
Hands. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. He wouldn't last in Batman or like, yeah, probably not Iron Man.
Nah, yeah. It would kind of be laughable in a Batman scenario.
Oh, when it's like wait a minute, your powers is like bees come out and get me? I got bug spray. I'm fine.
Yeah, shark repellent.
I got it right here. End of story. He's got a little Batman one. Little tiny one.
Yeah, exactly. David Sonberger asks, your videos are always one step beyond informative and entertaining. You don't just explain a product or feature, you describe hidden features. How do you manage to do this all the time? Isn't it exhausting?
Oh my God, it is 100% exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm like, my favorite part of the whole process though, and this kind of answers that. My favorite part is when I'm done with the video, I do my final pass on it, and I sit back and I'm like, I could just not upload this. Like, this could just be for me.
Yeah.
And I get so much satisfaction in that. I'm like, all right, I'll share it. And then it's done. And then pretty much everything else after that, the feedback, the views, is kind of, it's a mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to get. It could be, you could be ripped apart. You could just be ripped apart by like that one comment, or it could be all this glowing comments of people's whose lives you've changed from this inspiring video, right?
Yeah.
So like, but creating the art, it's, I make it sound like I'm creating it for you guys, but I'm creating it for me.
I love that. That's always for you. It's never, I've heard this like one for them, one for me, but for you, it's all for you.
It's all for me.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I get bored, and also it's like, you got to move the needle up, you got to like advance it a little bit.
I agree. And I think everything that you're saying about like going against what a lot of people would even tell you to do for the algorithm's sake, like
don't follow my channel if you're trying to get 1 million subscribers.
I know, but
this is not the right path for
that.
But
100%. Here's the point that I'm trying to make though. Everybody that does have 1 million subscribers or more, who is truly like a revolutionary artist, they don't follow any of the rules ever. Like their thumbnails aren't always the best. Like it doesn't matter. They don't say at the beginning, on my channel I talk about blah blah blah. Make sure to say subscribe to learn more about blank.
Oh my God.
And that's what they tell you to do. And that's what a lot of people who do have a lot of subscribers do. But there is an aspect of what you're doing that is, because your personality is so contagious and so entertaining to watch, and because you're being different, like I think it will pay off. When you look at Casey Neistat, or one of my favorites is currently David Dobrik. Like I don't know if you've ever watched any of his vlogs. He does vlogs, but it's modern day jackass stuff. Like he's doing pranks and crazy stuff, but he's got this kind of artist thing behind it that's better than just stupid pranks. Like there is a narrative to every video he's doing, and these guys, like, they're not following the rules at all, and that's what I see in you, and that's what I want to do too. Yeah,
and I think it's just like one or two extra set of hands, like I call them employees, but like just sets of brains helping me behind the machine. For sure that could easily happen. I think the hardest thing in terms of production is always building that first template and working out all the kinks, and then from there you have economies of scale where it took me 3 weeks to do this video the first time, but then the second time takes me a week. And then once you get all of those efficiencies worked out, then you're pumping out a video every 3 days. The problem is that my scale is like, I've been at it for like a year and a half now, and you know my progress is just a little bit slow in terms of shortening that difference. But
the great thing about you though is that you still are executing stuff. You're saying you're going to do something, and you do it, and you're pushing yourself. And sure, it might be slow in air quotes, but compare that to someone who is talking about doing it and not doing anything, and you're actually moving forward. So I don't see you as slow at all. I just see you as you, and that is your time.
Well, thank you, man.
Your timing takes time, and that's okay.
Timing takes timing.
Yeah. JG3S, I want to know how he pushes that imposter syndrome out of his head. I've heard him talk about it before, getting in the way. Looking at him now, though, it seems like he has a system for striving forward. So, imposter syndrome. I think we all struggle with it.
It actually you know how long it takes me to do a video?
I don't know. You just said 3 weeks?
It takes about 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
The first 11 days are me dealing with that imposter syndrome. Right. It actually should take me about 2.5 days to do a video. Mm-hmm. That's it. To shoot it, edit it, get it up line. If I had a gun to my head, I could do it in 1 day.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. And you wouldn't see a notice in quality drop.
Uh-huh.
But that I can't deny that imposter voice is there, and it's strong sometimes.
What does that voice tell you? What do you struggle with?
It changes. It's
not good enough.
I think that's probably. I think that's probably it. Not good enough.
Yeah.
Or boring, or not worthy. Right. Mm-hmm. So, being worthy of your own success is. I think it's hard for me to accept.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll write off if a video does well, I might think it's a fluke or whatever, and then I'll try to copy it and then it doesn't work. Or a lot of times those comments also can kind of put you in a little bit of a tailspin as well. So now I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm reading less and less comments.
Yeah.
And if people want to congratulate me or tell me how inspired they are, DM me on Instagram.
Yeah, and you won't respond.
Because if you're going to go out of your way to give me a nasty comment on Instagram or email it to me, oh man, how, your life is way worse than mine. Wow. You went out of your way to hurt me? Holy cow.
Exactly.
I feel bad for you, dude. How can I help you?
Do you have any more AMAs on your Instagram that you wanted to ask?
Thoughts on the Red camera controversy? What's that?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of controversy. First off...
Is it because of Blackmagic Pocket 6K?
No. So there was a huge controversy with their SSDs. They have been claiming for years that it's a specialized
proprietary
thing.
Somebody stripped it apart.
They just took it apart. It's just a stock SSD. It's not even fast. It's a really cheap, $100 SSD.
100% guaranteed that's what happened.
And then, so that kind of blew up on the internet. And then now Apple is suing them because they were suing Apple for, if you mention the word RAW, compressed RAW in any way, they kind of have a patent on R3D compressed RAW.
Uh-huh.
And so they had a problem with Apple talking about compressed RAW. And so Apple's firing back because they're like, you're an idiot. And so they're just going to...
Oh, my God.
They're just going to crush
Red. What if they just destroy each other? That would be kind of fantastic.
I don't think Red could destroy Apple, but...
It would be great, though. Yeah. So what do you think of the Blackmagic Pocket 6K?
Okay, so we can both answer this one. My thoughts are, first off, 6K RAW, $2,500. If that interests you and you're excited about that, it's great, because for $2,500, there's nothing.
Does it dethrone Blackmagic Pocket 4K?
No, not at all.
No.
In fact, I would argue that Blackmagic 4K in some ways is better because of the versatility of the mount.
No, what they did with the 4K, they gave you all of the tools. I mean, and for that price point, you could buy two of them.
$12.99, right?
I would rather have two 4Ks than a 6K.
And Armando and I actually did a side-by-side comparison with the 4K and the 6K.
Yeah.
And they both look great. I will say, though, with having 6K, if you're delivering 4K and you're doing any post-cropping or anything like that, having that extra resolution is helpful.
Well, here's the really cool thing, is that if you shoot everything in 6K and you're going to deliver in 4K or 1080, you can now pull screen grabs from 6K, and you can use those for your thumbnails or for your social. And those are really sharp.
It's 24 megapixels. Yeah. And it's raw.
I mean, I've been doing that that's how I get most of my thumbnails and Instagram stuff. I'm just pulling from 4K footage. But now it's
Yeah. But other than that, if you're not interested in 6K raw, then don't get it, because you can only shoot 4K ProRes.
There's a couple of features on there that are different now. They have a Luma. They have a...
I heard they're adding all that, though, to the 4K.
Are they giving an upgrade?
All the firmware,
that would make sense.
All the firmware things that you like about the 6K, like anamorphic and some of those things, they're going to carry over.
That would make sense. Well, then that makes the 4K even more powerful then, because there's a bunch of stuff in there. I was like, oh, this is new. This is great. But
just new
I
firmware.
would have loved it for them to give us like a true 240 or something like that. That would have, which they still might. I mean, it depends on how much processing power that thing has. But
totally.
You know what's interesting is that I've had the Ecamm 2 for a while now.
Yeah, the Zcam.
Sorry,
thing?
yeah, the Zcam E2.
Yeah,
that shoots 240 frames at 1080.
Dang,
unusable.
Really?
It's terrible.
Oh, okay. I thought it was good.
It look I hate
Super
I
grainy.
hate to badmouth any company because
That's
I
fine.
know how hard it is to take a thing off the ground. It's advertised as like 240 frames per second, 1080. It looks like a scaled up 480.
Oh wow.
So it's like
Really
I
grainy.
don't know if there's some magic going on
Yeah.
behind the scenes where they're kind of lying, or if it's literally like that's how little bit rate is
Yeah,
left.
it's probably the bit rate, yeah.
That it's just stripping away all the detail and doing an artificial sharpening.
Well, they're coming out with a full frame 6K camera soon.
Right.
So,
Which will be in contention with the Blackmagic.
and the S1H and the A7S3.
A7S3 is going to be 6K?
I think if Panasonic released the S1H to do 6K, then yeah, they have to. Panasonic, Sony's biggest competitor, really.
It's not going to be 8K?
No, not yet.
Yeah, probably not.
In like 2 years, it will be.
Yeah, it'll be 6K. We know it. It'll be released next month too.
So, since you reveal a lot of products on your channel, I have a couple rapid fire camera gear related questions. Just answer them as quick as possible. Osmo Action or GoPro Hero 7?
GoPro Hero 7.
Best gimbal of choice for your workflow?
Ronin S.
Favorite lens?
Otis 55.
Preferred camera for filmmaking?
Blackmagic.
Main
4K.
camera for stills?
Sony A7 R3.
Favorite location for filming?
Sand dunes, Kelso, middle of the desert, Mojave.
Go-to drone?
Mavic Pro 2.
Nice. So what about when we saw each other at Cinegear? You had a 1DX Mark II.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you had one.
I use that. I'm going to sell that. I'm actually going to get rid of all my Canon equipment.
Oh yeah, you're switching over, except for the 300 Mark II.
Look, so the I mean, I have to hold on to that, but
Yeah.
I'm actually selling my C200. That was my main vlogging setup, and the reason why I had that was just because the autofocus is so damn good.
Yeah.
But you know what? The A7 III autofocus is blazing fast, and it's especially fast enough for like well lit interview.
You have a flip screen on it now too, so
now it has a flip screen.
yeah.
Yeah, and so I think the 1DX, I don't even use it anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like it was one of those purchases that I got because I wanted, I think everyone else was using that for the 4K 60, and it was kind of great. And it's a workhorse for sure. It's an incredible camera.
Yeah.
And I've used it for a lot of stuff, but I'm using it less and less now, especially now that doing the Blackmagic 4K stuff, and I can get the colors to look just as good.
Yeah, if better, if not
like-
better, because it's raw
Well, I mean, it takes a lot of work to get those colors to look good.
on the pocket.
Yeah, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like when when I first jumped into it, I uploaded a video where I shot a real estate, $120 million home, and I hadn't nailed the colors, but I was in such a rush that I uploaded it anyway. Oh my god, dude, I got ripped apart, and rightfully so. Like I deserved it. Like that camera, you have to nail white balance and exposure, and then you have to know how to
Tweak it.
do all the post stuff to get that to look right. Whereas the 1DX, you
Straight out
can
of the
just put
box.
it on portrait mode and boom, there you go.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, kind of some final thoughts, final questions. We had a good conversation. This has been
This is
good.
pretty good.
Do you like it?
You're good at this.
To close this thing out, how do you maintain creativity when you're going from one project to the next? Because I've had situations where I just get too burnt out on this thing. I mean, it's too much sometimes for me.
I think every single video I get, every video that I do, there's a point where I'm hitting my head against a wall and I'm like, I don't know how to solve this. I don't know how to bridge this gap. And I think for me, if I don't have that point in a video, I'm like, I'm not interested in it. So then weeks will go by and I won't finish the video. But if it's a good enough problem and then I'll solve it, then I'm like, I got something there. That's interesting to me. I learned something new, and that's normally something that I'll finish.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many videos I have that I haven't finished.
Yeah.
I'm constantly working on videos, so it's
Yeah.
not like I just on the whim. I'm like, oh, I think I'll do a
I can
video
relate.
today, and then I'll
Yeah.
take a month off. I probably have 30 or 40 videos that I have either shot and edited halfway through and just shelved because,
Yeah.
you know, who knows? And that's probably my biggest downfall too.
Yeah.
Is that I don't just put out.
That's when, like, for me with Kinotika, at least the review channel that I work on, I do view that as a job. Like, I have to put out one video a week.
I think if I was under that same pressure, I'd have a lot more videos out because I'd be like, well, look, I'll just nail the next one.
It's just a jobby job, right?
Yeah, but I haven't come to those terms yet, and there's definitely virtues in that.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. What advice do you have for others that are trying to find their creative spark and want to do what you're doing?
Breakdowns lead to breakthrough. So when you hit that wall and you don't have that answer,
Yeah.
like in your brain when you physically hit that wall
Or hit the
hit the microphone, when you physically hit that, your brain is like releasing dopamine and all these other like neurochemicals that they trigger creativity. They trigger, this flight, whether you call it fight or flight response.
Yeah.
But there's something going on there. And a lot of my most creative thoughts have come out from when I'm physically upset and I'm having a breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that with my first film, and I didn't know how I was going to shelve the whole film. And one day I was like, I screamed out loud. I was like, it's just all this stuff that he's hearing in his head. It's just, and then I was like, boom.
Yeah.
His conversation is actually happening in his head. It doesn't have to be a literal what he heard because he can't hear anything. He's deaf. You have to see my short film to know what I'm talking about.
So
but
let's play a little game here, a figurative game.
Okay.
You're allowed to put a giant banner, like 100 feet by 200 feet wide, that is in the Burning Man entrance, and it can say anything you want on that banner. What do you put on that banner? What do you want to say to everybody?
Your burn. There's a saying there. It's so snarky. You guys will have to bleep that out, but you have to leave it in. It's snarky, but a lot of people say that in the forums and even when you're there, and it means have a nice day, right? But it's like handle your own stuff, right? Because it takes so much energy just to get out there. You're talking like it's out in the middle of the desert. You have to pack your own water, your own food. The only thing they provide is porta potties. You have to bring everything, and so it weeds out a lot of people that ordinarily wouldn't go to that kind of festival, right? And so when stuff goes wrong, you're missing something, you get hurt or whatever, like there's radical self-reliance is one of the rules, or one of the guidelines of Burning Man, and that's essentially that. It's like, well, fuck your burn, like handle it, like take responsibility, do it.
Yeah, and that applies to everything in life.
Applies to everything.
Yeah, I love it.
Hold yourself accountable.
How can we learn to make art now?
It's more like make art every
couple weeks,
15 days,
every 3 weeks. But if a gun was held in my head,
I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think people should do what I do because you'd probably go insane. Like I'm actively going insane doing my channel.
Yeah,
but there is a virtue in trying to create something new, and if it stimulates you when you're making it, then you got something, and that's
exactly.
art. If it doesn't, then that's a product. It's either art or commerce.
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes it's a blend, but for the most part,
how do you blend that? I struggle with that. Because I mean, like, let's take for example your most recent video. It was a DJI sponsored video,
right,
about the Ronin S, but it was still artistic. And
I mean, I think if I just simply went over the features, then that would be the product. But like, I showed something unique, and I gave it context of like, here's something you probably have never done before or hardly seen, like like that first opening shot.
That's
like,
great.
I thought that would be way more popular than the wireless ND, but everyone, their mind was blown with the wireless ND. I was like, but it was so like, but that first shot, I was like, that was something that that tripped me out. That propelled me to finish the video because I was like, that's something I haven't seen. Like, I've never even thought of that.
It looks
like,
so cinematic.
It looks really cinematic, like especially that quick pan shot back. It like looked like really good cinematographer nailing the marks, you know. That was all autofocus and just hitting that button and doing it. So, you know, that was a unique challenge.
It's amazing.
The timing of that took me like 6 or 7 tries to like to nail it, but
I mean, actors do that too when they're trying to hit their marks.
Totally. But that first section was 100% art.
Man,
and then I sent that to DJI, and they were like, I just sent them that first minute clip, and they're like, we've actually never seen anyone do this before. I was like, yep, we're onto something.
That's awesome.
We'll finish it up.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah, so that was good.
So we went from going to college in Arizona to moving to LA, doing the actor thing, inventing meals.
You ever heard of the expression making it?
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. We all want to make it, right? I want to make it. So like I was saying that all the time, or at least in my mind.
I want to make it.
When am I going to catch my break? When am I going to make it? When am I going to make it? And finally, I realized I don't want to make it. Mm-hmm. I want to make it.
Yeah.
Right?
The process.
Yeah. And that was the whole switch, and that was the Make.Art.Now.
Amazing.
So that was it.
Well, Josh Yeo, Make.Art.Now, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing the podcast. Love you.
Can I take this? This looks great.
Oh, yeah, sure. You should use this for your channel or something.
I should. I mean, you spelt it right and everything. It's perfect.
Do it.
Thanks, guys.
I hope you guys enjoyed my interview with Josh Yeo. I would encourage you to go check him out on YouTube and Instagram if you haven't already. His YouTube and Instagram handle is Make.Art.Now, and there's periods after each word. Seriously, if you have not seen any of his videos, I implore you to go do it. It is hilarious. It is entertaining. His content is top notch. If you're a fan of the Golden Hour podcast, would you please consider leaving us a rating in the Apple Podcast player? It really means a lot to us, and it kind of boosts the algorithm so that this podcast will get out there to more people. So please leave it a review and share it with someone that you think would enjoy this episode. And if you're interested in following my work and my stuff, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at DaveMays_ at the end of that, and hit me up and let me know what you think of the Golden Hour podcast. Once again, I'm honored to have you guys listen in on the Golden Hour podcast here in the Polar Pro studio, and we'll see you next week.